Good morning, lovelies. It is December 8th, 2023, and this is episode 9 of the Green Comedy PaulCast. I hope you're all doing wonderful. I hope you're out there following your dreams, following your heart, finding experiences, finding growth, and that you're having some success with it. And man, a lot of things happened today. So first of all, welcome to my new boom arm. For those of you listening, you can't see this. I got myself a new mic holder. It's a very fancy Rode boom mic holder. So much better than what I was using, which was this mic stand, which you just put on your table. This is actually not for podcasting. This is for a bass drum, holding a mic to the bass drum. But I was like, well, with that big heavy bass, I can just set it down on my table. That would work fine. And it ended up not working really fine because the boom element of it, I couldn't really do much with it, and it would still topple over. Even that weight's pretty heavy. It's probably 5-6 pounds, but I would try to get the mic just even extended a little bit and it would fall over. So I'm going, all right, I'm going to invest in a sturdy boom mic arm. I'm going to get really fancy with my podcast. You know, that's the kind of fun thing about just moving forward, just doing something because you feel like doing it is you just improve, you figure things out as you go along, you adjust. And in the meantime, you're doing it, as opposed to, I think, maybe what a lot of us get hung up on is just being in the planning stages forever. It's like, oh, I want to do something. Oh, well, I better sit down and plan every potential element in detail before I take any step. And I'm not saying that there isn't a benefit to that in a lot of different aspects, but the other part of that is, sometimes you just gotta go and do it with what you have and see how it goes, and then iterate and improve and go again, iterate and improve. And part of that process is failing, finding out what isn't working, what doesn't work, what didn't go well, and just being honest and transparent with that. Oh, okay, that didn't go very well, and not a big deal. Improve, iterate, try again. And that's really the process that I am learning to enjoy more. And I'll tell you, when I started doing stand-up comedy in 2014, it was not fun for me. I had such a hard time with the whole process. I mean, just beginning to end. I loved it. The only part I loved about being a stand-up comedian is when I already had a joke that I knew worked and that I could put that joke in front of an audience. But I didn't like any of the other process of getting that joke in front of an audience. Oh, you want to know what I just realized? Again, for those of you watching this, is my mic cord has this little blue part. But whenever so I actually just filmed this in front of a blue screen, and then I just cropped the blue screen out and put an image behind that I made in Canva. I will be changing that soon anyway, but because this is blue, it just occurred to me that it will probably crop this out. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see that this little blue section of the microphone is actually probably going to be my backdrop. So there might be a little like part of my green logo here or something like that in the blue microphone. I don't know what it's going to look like now. I'll have to see what it looks like in post-editing, but I don't know any way to keep this little section from getting cropped out. My editing software just isn't sophisticated enough, or if it is sophisticated enough, I'm not sophisticated enough to take the time. So if you're watching this, you'll be able to look at that and see a little bit behind the scenes of the post-production mishaps of the Green Comedy PaulCast. Maybe one day there will come a time. Well, I'm actually working on that. I'm working on getting a set design so that what you see is what's actually here, and that I won't have to crop out a blue screen. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is good for now. This is good enough for me to get started, and I could have, planned and, try to get it perfect and be like, well, I can't film a podcast until I have a fully designed set and wall decorations and furniture and plants and all that stuff. And okay, true, maybe, or I could have just started when I started and made do with what made sense. And I don't understand interior design at all. I reached out to a friend of mine and said, can you help me with this? And she said, sure, and has been sending me some pictures with ideas and has been working with me on getting a logo. But in the meantime, I've popped out 8 episodes. This is the 9th. And I'm having a great time and loving putting my stuff out there. Been starting to get a little bit of traction on them. And I know it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time before I see any significant traction, if I ever do. But again, I don't know. I don't think that's the point anymore for me. The point for me is in the doing of it, not in the getting the goal of it, if that makes sense. It's like, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to do it, not because I'm trying to get anything out of it. And if something big comes out of it, great. My podcast becomes so popular that, major brand sponsors like ZipRecruiter. I hear ZipRecruiter advertising on so many podcasts. My favorite is Bill Burr's podcast, is whenever he does the reads for ZipRecruiter. Makes me laugh every time. I mean, that would be super cool. But if not, no problem, because I am doing this at the speed that I can do it with the production capabilities that I have to do it. I'm doing it all on my own, just filming on my phone in front of a blue screen. Got my own little lighting kit. I know how to crop out a blue screen, throw an image behind there, pop it on YouTube, pop it on Spotify, pop it on all of the places. And that's where I'm at. And while I'm doing that, I'm also iterating and improving as I go and trying to find ways to streamline it more, to make it more efficient, and to make it better. So, man, there's just so many things. There's so much out there that you can do. I mean, just an infinite world out there. And, that's, if anything, that anybody might get from this podcast, it would hopefully be just a little bit of encouragement that whatever your current situation is, and I know there is tremendous disparity, and I don't want to discount, the privilege that I've been given and the, resources that I have available to me. I acknowledge that fully, but I would say wherever you are at, with whatever resources available to you, how can you take the next step, put something out there, move forward with whatever it is that is calling to you, and just go and do it as best as you can with the resources that you have, and detach yourself from any sort of outcome of it having to go a certain way, of it having to blow up or be incredibly successful, whatever that even means. The more that I'm in this game, to me, I realize that the only victory is being in the game. And if you're in the game, you're winning, even though I know it doesn't feel that way. But what's so interesting to me is I know so many, I'll just take comedy since that's my current hustle. I know so many comedians who are so incredibly talented and who have done things that I haven't done, that I consider to be stepping stones that I think would be incredible if I had these opportunities, like big time TV appearances and stuff like that. But when I talk to them, they don't act like they've arrived. You know what I mean? It's not a situation where they're feeling complete or whole or fulfilled or that they've made it. And so I'm going, oh, I don't actually think there is such a thing as that, more or less. But even if you do make it, what's the point if you're miserable and if you didn't enjoy the process of getting there. And that really is more and more how I am trying to navigate going for my dreams and going for my comedy career, is really learning to enjoy the process, to enjoy sitting down and writing a new joke and going to an open mic and throwing that joke out in front of people. And at any open mic, it's probably predominantly comedians who are in the audience. So you're performing probably for your least supportive demographic, which is your competition, in one perspective or one way to look at it. And so what? That's the process. That's what I'm learning to enjoy. And tonight I did an open mic, and I had about 50% of new material that I've just started working on. I kind of mixed in some older stuff because there was some crowd there, so I wanted to give them some material that I actually knew worked well. And I'll tell you, man, it is a real rush now, just saying that joke for the first time in front of an audience and having no idea if what you thought in your head and what you wrote down on a piece of paper is actually going to translate in front of any audience on any given night is really a thrill. And I used to, oh man, did I loathe that process. I used to hate open mics. I hated having to just do that grind and do that hustle and write and try to figure out, well, what am I going to write? And is this funny? And second guessing everything that I write down the second it leaves my pen and going, oh, that's not funny. Nobody's going to laugh at that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm now finally starting to get to a point where I'm going, that's totally fine if it's not funny. That's part of the process. That's part of the failure. And that's part of the joy, is being able to go up there and swing and miss like you wouldn't believe. And knowing that, oh, okay, first of all, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to survive. It's not life-ending to have a joke at an open mic not go well, or to have a set not go well. It's, all of this is long game, and I'm going to be okay. Going to be fine. And actually now it doesn't even faze me. I just, a couple of the jokes that I tried tonight didn't really work. And I just was able to look at the audience and go, okay, well, one didn't work. Thank you for the feedback. I will take that into consideration. And then they laugh and then move on to the next thing. And the next one maybe went a little bit better or didn't. It doesn't matter. So learning to love the process, because I really think that's all there is. And sure, there's going to be moments of high exhilaration if something big and major does happen. We love those experiences, the big break, the big opportunity, the big relationship, the big wedding, the big reward, winning the championship game, the business getting launched, the business hitting a big sales number, whatever that is. I'm not trying to discount that, but I'll tell you, in my experience, those moments are pretty far and few between. And in between those moments, it's just a lot of slugging it out every day, day by day by day by day. And if there isn't some joy in that process, in that grind, oh man, it's abysmal. It is just a brutal way to go about life, to wake up every day and hate the process of whatever game you're in, whatever dream that you're pursuing. And so I've just done a lot of work on just adjusting how I process the process. And going, all right, open mic tonight. Fantastic. How fun that I get to go try out new material for the first time or for the second time, and start to work on it, see how it works. I have been writing every single day, and what a fun process to be able to open up my notebook, start writing down ideas, start formulating them into jokes trying to come up with in my mind what I think is funny and what I think the jokes and the punchlines are, and trying to be as vulnerable and honest and authentic with what I'm talking about and truthful as I can be with what I'm talking about, and then go put that in front of a crowd and see how it goes. And man, when it works, it's like, oh my gosh, I have a new bit. I've created something that wasn't there before that I now get to use. I mean, in this year alone, I've probably written, not a ton, I've probably written maybe 10 minutes of new stand-up comedy material. And I also went back and refined some of my old bits to be a little bit more fresh for me and more authentic with who I am. And I am finding that process now exhilarating and just grateful that I even get to do it in the first place. And nothing has happened still. You know what I mean? I'm not blowing up. I'm not going viral, but I feel so detached from that now. And just going, man, I am grateful and fulfilled that I get to engage and interact with this dream of mine on to whatever degree and to whatever level and to whatever energy commitment I choose. But I also get to choose how much joy and fun and fulfillment that I receive from it. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like that's the case. It just feels like, well, you either like something or you don't. And I think there's maybe some truth to that, but I used to hate this process. I used to hate open mics. I used to hate writing, and I don't anymore. And I think so much of that just came from an internal shift. Open mics and writing hasn't changed. I mean, they're still pretty much the same, but I've definitely changed internally when I just started focusing more on gratitude and just being grateful that I even have the opportunity in the first place, that there are even open mics that exist that allow me to go and hone my craft. And, you know, there's a club tonight I went to, JP's in Gilbert, and Jim Perry is incredible. And yet created this club, and he lets me go and do comedy there in front of an audience that he's pretty much had to hustle to get there. And if anybody's ever tried to get an audience anywhere, I think I've talked about that before in previous podcast, in previous PaulCast. Sorry. You know how challenging that can be. And yet here he has done all that work, and then will just let me go up on stage and try new material in front of this audience. So I'm just grateful for that. Even about a year ago, when I found out that he had an open mic, I remember one time I was there. I said, "Oh, you have an open mic tonight?" He's like, "Sure, I'll put your name down. I'll put you on." And I was like, "Oh no, you know, I don't," because I just wasn't there emotionally yet. And, you know, I hadn't written anything. I was still pretty emotionally traumatized from an experience that I had last year. And so, you know, I started to overcome that and replaced all of that trauma with gratitude and just choosing that I'm going to make the most of any opportunity. I'm going to love the process. I'm going to take advantage of any resource that I have available to me, even if that's just a camera and a blue screen and now a microphone with a boom mic and a subscription to Podbean that pushes my podcast out for me to all of the podcast distribution sites out there, and my YouTube account, and just loving it, just loving this process, loving that I get to do this, and so grateful to anybody out there who actually is listening, which according to the numbers isn't very many. And you want to know what? That's totally fine. Maybe one day it'll be more, maybe one day it won't, but I'm loving that I get to do this. So love the process, everybody. That's my 2 cents for today's podcast. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. I hope you get out and enjoy some incredible comedy this weekend. Go out there and get some laughs. Engage with all of the beautiful artists out there putting themselves and being vulnerable for your entertainment. And hopefully we'll, get a little bit of joy and happiness in this world, which on the other side seems like it may be crumbling around us. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but let's do the best that we can to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process and find joy in the little things. So hope you all have a wonderful Friday. This has been Paul Green with the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, December 8th, 2023, episode 9. Talk to you soon, everybody.